in general, why are black men afraid to go to therapy? Like, why is that such an uncomfortable situation?
I think it's a fear of misdiagnosis. I think that there's also a fear of diagnosis as well.
'Cause I've tried therapy in the past. Back in college, I don't really talk about it because I didn't do it for a long time because I saw some of the flaws in it.
Is therapy necessary to be a mentally healthy black man?
A lot of people do not know the tools for themselves to mentally be healthy. Like, my tools are meditation, prayer, devotion, writing in my journal.
Me, thankfully, I was forced to go to therapy when I was in the military.
We're just now learning how to communicate our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts outside of like very cliche ways. And I think maybe we're like the first generation of black men who are consciously attempting to take the journey.
Your therapist ever like tried to give you some kind of diagnosis?
I had an addiction.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was what the diagnosis was. I had an addiction. I need the help. Do y'all want me to speak what the addiction was? I don't
Sure.
mind sharing. I had a porn addiction.
Back to the To Be Fair show. I am your host, Johnny P.
Over here, real.
It's Q.
And we back. Season 3. So we got a special one lined up for you. As you can see, special guests in the house. We appreciate bro for pulling up on us, blessing us with your presence, young citizen in the building.
In the building.
Appreciate
in the
y'all,
building.
man.
That's what we'd have to.
I'm a huge fan of what y'all do, man. So
Hey, man, we appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it. Again, one of Charlotte's finest inside multiple capacities. I think that I first ran into, I don't even know if you remember this encounter. I was at a Big Crit concert, I want to say. This was like years ago. Amos South End.
Yeah, I remember that concert.
Yeah, I might have been with Nige at that time. I can't remember what it was. And I bumped into you, and you introduced yourself. And I remember the first thing that I was like, oh shit, he's serious. Like, you had the full branding at the card, and I was like, oh, okay, dang. The name was Fire Young Citizen. I was like, what could that mean? You know what I mean? I don't know. Like it's but. In meeting you and kind of like seeing you, being a part of the music scene with you for a while, and then again looking at it from a fan perspective. Again, like I said, Charlotte's finest. I'd love to give you an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself and who you are.
I wanted to
got it first too.
Yeah. One thing, so yeah, you know, same thing. We were all in the scene together, and one of the things that from beginning to even current date. That your level of consistency of your message. So like the vibe and the conversation that you have within your music, you didn't like you could hear there were certain people that would kind of, because we could see that the trappier, not even just the beat selection, because I think we all love the sound of the eights and the drums, but the actual content itself. Yeah. You didn't waver off of where you were from me first meeting you and hearing you. Yeah. You still consistently been Young Citizen ever, and you just evolved it and grew even more into where you were. And it's still like, it's dope to see, and like that's one thing I appreciate. It is inspirational to see.
Man, dang, I appreciate that, bro, because I didn't know. Like, it's crazy that, you know, you go in life and you're just like, yo, I'd be like, yo, babe, are people paying attention to what I'm doing? You know what I'm saying? You never know who's watching. And I've said that a lot too. Like, for both of y'all to say that, man, like, yeah, no, I'm gonna be in tears when I go home. I'll talk to my wife. You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate that. Consistency is one of the main things that, like, I wanted to stand by. I didn't want to waver off of anything. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna continue to do what I do. If people get it, they get it. If they don't, it's okay. They don't have to be part of the crowd. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, that means a lot. Because I wanted to stand by that, and it took a lot of hard work to just like stand ground on what I wanted to do and what I wanted my message to be, man. And so that means a lot. Thank you.
No, that's big. Hey, I got, you know, I ain't got no tapes out, but I got flowers for you too. Cause I remember in the scene, you know, I was doing my picture things. I've always, you know, tapped into
right, you. Had the camera.
Yeah, I'd always tap into you, run into you. Like you said, I noticed, you know, you was real, you know, super professional. All your shit was always tight. But the thing that really, like, that what you was doing that really inspired me, I think it started, you know, they're doing the morning pages now, but I think it really started with like Family Matters. Like every morning,
I did the
morning motivation.
The morning, and I ain't gonna lie, I was like, I had to get it, man. It was like every morning, like I was like, that's my okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna wake up. That's going on the way to work, or that's what I need. And you was always pretty. I always love, you got a way with words. You really eloquent in the way you deliver your messages. They
And
they, they really
optimistic.
hit and go. So
I
that's always
appreciate.
something I've always
Man,
understood.
the fact that you remember the morning motivations, bro, it's like that started off on Snapchat. I remember, and I had met Samir through De Niro Ferrari.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
I met De Niro just on the fly, and then we just became really cool. And then that's how I met Samir through all that whole camp. And
Cool dude too.
and Samir had followed me on Snapchat, and he noticed that I was doing it every single day. De Niro was like, "Yo, Samir, this dude's doing this every day. He's the most consistent dude I've ever met." And so then one day Samir was like, "Yo, I need you to do this on my Family Matters page." He's like, "Cause I know they would love it." And it was funny, dog. Like when he told me that, I was like, "Okay, cool." And he was like, "Just come to the shop, and I'm just gonna give you a whole bunch of gear." Like I was like, "What?" I said, "I don't want no gear, bro. I just want to whatever I can do to bless your page." And he gave me all this gear, bro. I still have that gear. I don't wear a lot. I don't wear a lot of like I don't wear a lot of it anymore, but I was like, yo, this dude gave me a box of just a whole box of stuff. And I was like, you're doing this for me to just do just, he was like, bro, you have no idea how much you're blessing people. So started on Snapchat and he would add it to their Snapchat. And then when IG became like real popular with the stories, but he gave me the login for IG and I was doing it for Snapchat and IG. Posted on there and posted on mine. Like it was a lot.
That's fire.
And like people, that's how I got a lot of people to kind of follow what I do. Like a lot of my fans came from the Family Matters page, and then then they knew what I did. But I'm gonna be honest with you, like that was kind of weird. That was a kind of a weird season because when people saw me, they thought I had a podcast, and I was like, no, I don't have a podcast. I'm just doing motivation. You're like, oh, you're young sis. You got that podcast, the more motivation. I was like, no, bro, I don't have a podcast. And like people kind of got confused with that. And then they finally realized, oh, you're an actual artist. And I was like, yeah, but I produce too. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my main thing. And so like people finally learned who I was just as a creative period. I wasn't just like this more motivation guy. And then I remember one time like Samir threw he threw a kind of like a festival situation. It was on a Sunday. I forgot the name of it, but it was at the Underground. And I remember getting on stage with my DJ. And everybody in the crowd was like, "What's the motivation for the day?" Before I started my performance, like when they introduced me, it was like, "Yo, young citizen." They were like, "Young citizen, why you want you to be exact?" By the hit the stage, I get on stage. Somebody was like, "What's the motivation? What's the motivation for the day?" And I said it, and then everybody was like, and then I started my set. It was just crazy.
Now that's hard though.
Yeah, that was so funny.
And that means people paying attention though. Like
like that whole Family Matters like community was out there. It was a Family Matters event that Samir threw on, and it was just like, wow, So I was like, dang, people pay attention to that, So it was cool.
Gotcha. So again, this is your first time sitting down on the couch.
Yeah.
We've kind of spoke about it somewhat, but again, love for you to unpack a little bit of who you are. Yeah. What is again your artistry?
Yeah.
Where the name come from? You about to put me on right now because I haven't been sure either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah, man. So I'm born and raised in Charlotte. Started music real early as a child, just listening to music. Both my uncles are musicians, and my dad's brother, one of my uncles is a retired music teacher, and then my other uncle is still in the music industry. I mean, he worked for Universal Records, worked with Prince, with marketing, everything. Lived in New York, worked for Viacom, MTV, and all that. And now he's in LA, in Santa Monica area. They have a company where they literally do the soundtracks for like major TV shows, major films, things like that. And the name of that company is Sleeping Giant Records. So he's still in the music industry doing his thing. Met a lot of people, has a ton of friends in the industry, and so like from that point, I was like, okay, cool. Like I love music as a kid. I played the saxophone in elementary and a little bit of middle school, and then when I got to high school, that's when I really wanted to get into like making beats. And I started collecting these scratch magazines, and I remember this one magazine, one scratch edition, it was the Neptunes are on the front, Chad Hugo and Pharrell. And I was just like, dang man, I really want to like get into making music. And so then at that point, I started making beats, and then my parents are like, man, this will waste your time. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, yo, this is just fun to me, And so then my senior year, I ended up my junior and senior year playing football heavily, and football got me into college. So I ended up going to undergrad at Catawba College in Salisbury. Played 2 years of football there, but they had a music business program. So I was like, yo, I'm doing this. I told my parents, like, yo, they had a music business program. This is what I want to do. And they're like, okay, cool. And so then I only played 2 years of football because being a student athlete and a music student was super hard. It's almost like the same. Both entities want your time like tremendously. And so I would get like I remember Mondays I would get so burnt out at practice, but I had to go. I mean, at football practice, we didn't get like we was have football practice on Mondays at like 6 because the games were on Saturday. We had to watch film at 3, go eat dinner, come back and practice at 6. We'll be out there till like 9 o'clock. I got to go back into my dorm and shower. I got to take a shower, go to my dorm. I got to practice piano for piano class the next day, and like I'm tired, I'm burnt out. So I did that for 2 years. Dressed out, played a couple of games. It was fun, man. Fun experience. Glad I got that experience.
What position?
I played offensive line.
Okay.
Yeah.
The trenches.
I mean, I was in the trenches. I was the smallest one, like as far as on the depth chart, I was the smallest. Everybody was like 6'4", 6'5", 300 plus. I only got up to like 275. I only played 2 years of high school football. So I don't know how I even got into college to play ball.
Yeah, that's a blessing though.
It was a blessing. I'm
Take
glad
2 years, a couple practices, and get your
bro.
education.
Yeah,
like, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's why you should do it.
Yeah. And I only in my freshman year we won the champion. Like, I have a ring at my parents' house on the mantle, on top of the fireplace.
What high school?
I went. So this is another thing. Like, I started at Vance, and then my parents pulled me out and put me into a private school in Concord called First Assembly.
Yeah,
it's called Concord Academy now.
Yeah, okay.
But it was like a private school. But I only played 2 years of football there. I didn't even play at Chambers now. That's what it's called now. But yeah, man, we won the conference championship my freshman year. I got a ring. I didn't dress out that year. I redshirted. Sophomore year, I did dress out, traveled, dressed out, played a couple of games. That was a very fun experience. I got to do that, running out to the stadium, traveling, putting on the Nikes, putting on the we were sponsored by Adidas at the time. Had the Adidas full suit on when we traveled. Like, I felt like, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Had on the white forces when I was in my suit. It was blue, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like blue and white. And just being in that arena was just fun, man. And then I just told my dad. I remember I broke down crying because I didn't want to disappoint him. You know, both my parents. I was just like, yo, like, I can't do this anymore. I just really want to be a regular student, music student. I want to get busy with that. And my dad was like, okay, cool. At first he was disappointed, but he knew where I was trying to go. And so then, man, I had a partial scholarship with football. They actually transferred that to the music department.
Oh, even more.
So I ended up like having an interview with my advisor and everything. Like Dr. Fish, that's my man. He's still my man to this day. I still talk to him every now and then. He's actually retired though, but he was my advisor and he was like chairman as well. And so got into the music department. I got real busy, man. Created a lot of things in that department. Started doing handling the live shows, like handling the boards, producing. My senior year, I got my first placement with this major placement with this artist named Nico, Neako. He used to rap with Wiz Khalifa a lot. He's on a few old like Wiz Khalifa tapes, but he was out of Jersey, and I ended up getting a placement on there. I remember waking up. I remember that day, bro. Like, that was a huge thing because he was really big back then. I remember the day because it was the day after my birthday. This is the craziest story. The day of my birthday, that night going into my birthday, everybody wanted to get drunk, and at that time we were playing intramural basketball. We had a game that night. I didn't make it because I literally downed a whole fifth of Ciroc.
He said he don't drink. Listen to
I don't drink anymore. I
I
stopped
get
drinking.
it.
This is
So
in college.
crazy time, though. I get it.
I said, dang, I can't even make it to the doggone intramural game. Why am I drinking? We was like, yo, dude, let's just get drunk before the game, and we're gonna play. We just sweat it out.
It's always
I got super drunk to where I like passed out in the bathroom.
That is college in itself.
Yeah,
Those are like the college things.
because we were supposed to
Get
go out.
drunk and go to Walmart.
drunk before the
Because
game.
Salisbury is such a small town. Like
Yeah.
they had a DJ that's gonna shout me out. We were supposed to go to a party that night at a little club down the street, right? And so I got so drunk that I passed out in the bathroom, and I finally woke up, and my roommates was like, "Yo, you good?" And they did the whole like pranking, like taking pictures of me and everything while I'm sitting in the chair.
That's
like,
definitely college, for sure.
bro. So then, like, they had to take care of me that night, dog. I woke up the next morning and I get a text from Nico's manager, like, "Yo, we used your beat for Nico's tape that he's releasing today called Whippin' Whippin'." And I remember sending him that beat. This was in February 2012. I sent him one beat in December of 2011. I was at home for the holidays. I was like, I'm just gonna send him this beat, and it got passed like by several. And my homeboy J Mar would get mad when he says this, but when he heard that beat back in 2011, he was like, "Yo, this is not good." I'm like, "Bro, I'm telling you, this is it, dog. What are we doing?" February comes, I get that text message like I see, and then everybody on campus was like clowning and J Mar is my brother, like that's like one of my best friends. Everybody was clowning him on campus. They're like, "Yo, why do you use that beat? It don't matter now because Nico got it." So everybody on campus just like thought
fumbled the bag,
bro,
right?
and then he dropped the tape. Whipping was like the joint, and then he did a video for it. Everybody on campus went crazy. It's still on YouTube now. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up.
And yeah, you can definitely pull that joint up. It's a crazy, like when I listen to it, I'm like, dang, I could have mixed that a lot better, yo. That beat was like trashly mixed, dog. I listened to it, I'm like, yo, this
those the ears that you had at the time.
Those the ears I had at the time. Yeah.
Also the equipment though, too. Equipment
and I
like a lot over the years.
Oh yeah, I made it with just Logic stock sounds. I didn't have my native instruments. Okay. I ain't have my waves. I ain't have nothing.
Native instruments take it to the next level.
Yeah, dog.
Waves.
Well, about the waves.
Yeah, waves too.
Yeah, dog. And so then, like, okay, so that happened in that. So college happened. After that one placement, I ended up getting a couple more placements with him. Like after I graduated, 2012, and then I came back home in Charlotte, and I told my pops, like, I told my parents, like, yo, I'm just really just trying to let's continue chasing this dream. And so I was songwriting throughout college and just doing my own artist thing. And then just started, doing shows. I remember doing a show with Quentin and y'all at over there where the old Amelie's was. I remember on the corner there was like a spot.
Dub and
SWAT. Yeah, we did a couple of joints there, man. And we did something in like a dance studio, I think.
Looking great times, bro. Those
were some dope times, bro.
Definitely. With the shows used to be called. But yeah.
Yeah, so we did that.
Was it?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He was in Nas show. Which one of ours that he performed at?
It was one of those Nas shows.
But there was a couple of them over there because I remember the one in the dance studio.
Yeah, that was. That'd have been like something with like me and Callis.
That's the Spolioliers. One of those back in that time.
Like it was a Free Will Project show.
It was a Free Will show.
Okay.
Okay.
It was a Free Will show. And yeah, man. So up until now, man, I've done shows. I opened up for Goody Mob last year.
I saw that.
At Neighborhood Theater too. Yeah. That was fun, man. And then like I've really been experimenting with like the live band playing with me and my DJ, right? So started doing that a lot. And then, bro, like up until now, I've 2019, I met my mentor, Jason Hausman. This is more so on the production side. He reached out to me like during COVID and was like, yo, man, like, yo, do you produce your own music? And I was like, yeah, he just DM'd me on the fly because he was a fan. But he has a studio down in South End, right across the street from Krispy Kreme. It's called Ground Crew Studio. And all the actors and actresses come in there and do all the voiceovers over again, like what's the doggone show like where they got the strip club, the Paint, and all that?
Oh, you talking about? I know my homeboy worked there. Not work. He was an actor there.
The Real Side Chicks of Charlotte?
No, he's talking about.
It's on. Show,
yeah, my homeboy Fonz is an actor on it. Fonz Nichols.
Dang, what is that show?
The Valley. There we go.
P Valley.
There you go.
Oh.
They done P Valley. They done Cars, the movie. All those people go in there and do the voiceovers.
They shoot all that stuff in Charlotte.
No, they go to the studio to do the voiceovers over again, which means like they're redoing their takes, but they're cleaning it up more
with the audio. They shoot
with the voice and audio. Exactly.
Oh, damn, I didn't know that.
So they've done recording. You're saying shoot.
I did say shoot.
No. It's okay.
I did say shoot.
So I met him. He has a company called Hot Cycle.
I didn't know that.
And so then that's when I got into like composing and sound designing for film and commercials. Mm-hmm. And so he brought me on to a project that was on. It's a Hulu commercial that him and Emily Sage did, and then we ended up making that into a full song. But after that, he put me onto a film that's actually on Amazon Prime now called Discarded Things. And that was my first project I had to help sound design. Like it's on, like the movie's up there and everything. And then we started doing more things.
So when you say sound design, to explain exactly.
So when you're watching a commercial, you hear that music going, you might, so that's sound design. And then you might hear like little if they're walking or the refrigerator opens and it's like boom, like transitioning and things like that.
Oh,
that's sound design.
That's dope as hell.
Yeah, it's dope, man. And I've learned a lot from him. And we've done a lot of work together. Like, shoot, we just did like this year we just revamped the Autobell jingle.
That's
which was
hard.
pretty crazy.
That's hard.
And we've done a lot of floor and decor projects, like with it's a lot of agencies in the city, creative agencies in the city that do a lot of like Ray Ward is one. They do a lot of floor and decor stuff, like GE lighting, furniture, things like that, housing stuff. We've done like sound design for them. Like some companies want, a commercial or like a video to put on their like website or to put on TV. So stuff like that. So I'm really loving that sound design work because the money is definitely different than being an artist. You know what I'm saying? And so I've really been enjoying that.
I imagine the work's more consistent too.
It is, yeah, because everybody needs sound. They need something for. They always they need video for something, but they want sound with that.
And I actually got my brother. I wish I could remember the name of the movie right off. He just won like the first place at a few film festivals about 2 years ago.
Yeah,
and he had me do like I didn't even know sound design what it was called. The only thing I did was like pick out the music for the film. So like different and doing like kind of doing the crescendos and decrescendos and all that stuff. So I did that for the movie, but I didn't really. I wish I would have took it more serious. You know what I mean? But I just didn't think that I was even I was good enough to be doing it to begin with.
I ain't think so either.
Yeah, so and that's something I'm gonna actually get your information, link you up with my brother, and then I also have another homie that is he's getting into like what do you want to voiceovers too.
Yep.
He's getting into voiceovers. Matter of fact, y'all know Marquette. Marquette, do you hear his voice?
Word.
Yeah, Marquette's getting into voiceovers.
But there's jobs for that.
No,
like people, they have
you
classes.
You hear it in him too, yeah.
So Ground Crew Studio actually do classes for voiceovers. So you can go to class to do. You can take a class to learn how to do that. Like that's a full-time job because like they need people for commercials to do voiceovers. Like you can make a lot of money doing that full-time. Like you do it from your crib. Like there's this lady named Maria Howe. She was on the Color Purple movie. But she's one of my dear friends, but she does voiceover from her house. Literally, like has all the equipment she needs. People are like, yo, we need your voice for this, or we need you this, or we need you to fix this for this TV show or whatever. And she does it from the house. Got a mic set up, Logic, boom, pull it up.
That's dope.
Do that. But they have classes for that if you want to learn how to like get better at it so that you get more jobs. You know what I'm saying? So
and one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to breeze over. I know you said that you're getting more into the sound design, but let's not breeze over morning pages.
Oh, facts.
Let's not breeze over morning pages.
Yeah.
Because I seen you drop the two visual. Did you have three visuals for it? So I definitely watched two of the visuals.
Yeah.
Send them that murder, and then also I have a question about the actual song morning pages.
Yes.
So did you sample the D Smoke beat on the drum pattern?
No, this is the first project I did that was produced by another producer down in Atlanta.
Okay.
His name is he goes by the name of Audio Anthem, but his real name is Raphael Brown. But he's done an actual couple of joints for like Hit Boy and stuff like that. I gotta go back and listen to that song because I don't know.
Yeah,
I just he sent me a pack. And I was like, yo, I'm gonna use these 3 beats for something. I don't know what it is. And then it ended up turning into the morning pages because technically the morning pages is an exercise where you write 3 pages in a journal. So when you listen to the project, it's actually like a journal entry of 3 pages.
Oh, and that's why you did the 3.
That's why it's called
tracks.
Exactly. That's why I did 3 tracks.
Makes good sense.
But what's the name of that song by D Smoke?
Give me a second.
Okay,
give me a second. I just played it when we were listening to it earlier, and I was like, man, because the beat, I don't know. Mind My Business, exactly, yeah.
Mind My Business. Oh, I gotta listen to that because I don't know if that's a sample.
Yeah, that.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's what.
Knowing Raphael, he be cutting them drums because I've seen his videos and stuff where he's cutting them joints and like he really be in the studio like going crazy. That could have been a drum pattern that like he just picked up. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that joint's hard. And I also like the second track on there where you did like the more singular vibe on
Fortune Cookie.
Yeah. Hard.
Yeah, man. So the morning pages is literally like it started out like. So really, man, like how the morning pages even came about was like back in right before COVID, I read this book called The Artist Way. And The Artist Way is written by Julia Cameron. And I read this, I saw this interview by J. Cole, and they were like, yo, how do you get out of writer's block? He's like, yo, I don't think there's such thing as writer's block. He said, I read this book called The Artist Way, and literally he was just like, I just got what I had to get out of it. So I got the book, and then I was like, yo, I was like, okay, this is like a class, right? And so in the book, it's literally teaching you how to get out of your own way. Okay, so she has different assignments for you to do. Take yourself out on a date as a creative. Write 3 pages in the journal, the morning pages. Gotcha. So I started doing that. I was like, yo, let me write 3 pages in the journal. Let's see if I can even do this. Bro, I started doing that. I have over 20 journals front to back full.
Oh, wow.
So the first thing I do when I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning, except for Saturdays and Sundays. Monday through Friday, I wake up at 5 a.m. and literally, is everything recording still? Okay. Every morning, wake up at 5, do my devotion, do my prayer, do my meditation. I breathe for like 5 minutes, sit in silence. And then I go write 3 pages. And what that does is it clears my mind. The reason people think they had writer's block is because there's so much like everything is just all in their mind.
Much
you have to get it out. We think about thoughts every day. So you got to write all that stuff out. Whatever happened yesterday that bothered you, what's going on today, what your goals are for the day, what do you want to do today? How did you feel about that conversation with your wife the other day? Like I talk about all that stuff, right? And I knew this exercise worked because, and I've never done this before until this point. I remember during COVID, I had written 3 pages in my journal, and then my homeboy Jason Jett hit me. He was like, yo, I got this beat. I need you to come to the studio and record. I'm like, Jason okay. I did not hear the beat. I didn't know the concept. I wrote my 3 pages. I left, told my wife, yo, I'll be back. Got to go to the studio. Got to go to Grindhouse. Go to the studio. Jason played the beat, had the hook. I said, yo, I know exactly what we about to talk about. The song was called Black Dope. That's the first thing he told me. I was like, okay, Black Dope. Played the song, heard the hook. I was like, oh, I'm about to metaphorically talk about how dope it is to be black, but I'm going to metaphorically turn it into it's like a drug. Like you want it all the time. I go back into I said, yo, send the beat to the other studio in the building. I was in there for like less than like 45 minutes. I had 2 verses written. Sheesh. And then I went back. I was like, yo, I'm ready to lay this down. And then at that point, I was like, oh, this morning pages thing works. Because I didn't have nothing in my mind that was like, I didn't have no blockage, right? Yeah. And so like in the book, it just says like writer's block is technically like a myth. Like it's like a mental thing. I don't believe in writer's block. When people tell me they have writer's block, I'm like, why don't you go write some stuff out? No, and then come back to me and see if you have writer's block. I can't find inspiration. Boo. Go write a little bit. Do you write? You know, I ask that all the time. And so that's what happened with morning pages. So I do that every single day still. And then it's like, okay, my wife, I was like, when you hear the morning pages, the last song, I talk about addiction. I had an addiction. And so my wife was like, yo, you need help. So I started going to therapy. I've been through therapists, but I had to go get this fixed. So I ended up getting a therapist during COVID. I've been with her for like over 2 years. Now I only see her once a month, or once or twice a month, just in case. I like to go for maintenance now, but I was seeing her every week. And I was like, yo, like therapy saved my life. Like Miss Kathy saved my life. And so then I was like, I did this project called The Morning Pages. I'm like, yo, I'm about to do mental health panels. I'm about to do 3 videos for everything. I did the whole rollout around mental health and like how it helped me and just being vulnerable in front of everybody. You know what I'm saying? And people actually like they actually caught on to that. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, dang, I didn't know like my story could like save somebody else or like get somebody else inspired, you know? And so did the videos, did the whole rollout, rented out the IMAX theater, did a whole situation, the morning pages, movie night. That's and hard. Showed all 3 videos, but me and my videographer in between each video did kind of like what we're doing here. We did a conversation, you know, so it would be like conversation, video, conversation, video, conversation, video. And then after that, that's just how everything is kind of turned out now, man. I'm just like, and I put out journal prompts every Monday. So we have morning pages Monday, every Monday.
I be on them still.
Yo, and people like, I have people on my email list. They get them, and I send out an email every Monday afternoon. And yeah, that's just kind of where we at now, man. Look,
I was gonna say that's fine, man. Like I say, I think we probably need to go ahead and put a pin in it. But I like where we at because I think we're gonna come back and maybe touch on some of the.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I said you spoke about therapy. This would be a good segue to kind of get into a couple topics. We'll pretty much go straight into you asking the question about mental health.
In general, why are black men afraid to go to when it comes down to therapy? Like, why is that such an uncomfortable situation, or like, why are they afraid to be vulnerable and things like that?
I think it's just we've been conditioned to. We been talking about it earlier. We've been conditioned to be these tough, these tough, almost tough to the point it's not human like type of people.
Yeah.
To where like going to therapy, that chink in the armor.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and even from experience in the past, but if I can speak personally, it's like something when you show that chink in the armor.
Yeah.
That's what motherfucker use to, come back and get you or attack you. So I think a lot of it just kind of stems from that, but just we're not comfortable being soft or being like not soft. I mean, soft ain't the best
Emotional.
word, but yeah, more vulnerable. We're not
Vulnerable.
we're not comfortable, and not always having that front of being tough, and so it just feels weird. It's a little different. I think these type of conversations help change that, and I think
for sure.
doing even just doing a pod and having to answer tough questions like this, then it's gonna go out there. That helps kind of change that narrative. But the whys, I think it does come from just the way we grew up, the way we was conditioned. Uh, just a lot of the stuff in movies, music, media, the images they show of black men. Like, there ain't no black men on movies going to get therapy. Like, so that's not something that I think we aspire to do or aspire or think is like when we need that help, we don't necessarily see that as an option to help get the solutions that we need.
Gotcha.
And I don't disagree with Johnny. I agree. I think that another portion of it is that we don't know anything about it. We don't know what it actually looks like.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and me, thankfully, I was forced to go to therapy when I was in the military. So I've been going through therapy for quite some time, and if it wasn't for it being forced upon me, I probably would have never took an opportunity to do it for myself. It's just an unfamiliar place.
Yeah.
And dealing with, not only is the place unfamiliar, dealing with the emotion and being, like you say, vulnerable and transparent, because it takes, in order for it to be effective, there's a level of transparency and vulnerability that is required.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So these are not things that we just so readily want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that, in my opinion, that's pretty much the biggest reason. And as I was saying, I've said a few times on the podcast that every scenario is not gonna. Well, let me see how I want to word this. The idea for just don't be frightened about it. You know what I mean? It's like you're being afraid of something, and I understand you've never experienced it. Most of the men around you have never experienced it, so there's not really a coaching that you can have to build up that, you know what I mean, the gumption or that motivation to want to do it. It's more of like a sound bite, sound good thing that people are talking about right now, and it's just like, you know what I mean?
But nobody has that experience. You can't go and talk to your homeboy. Hey,
A lot of us don't, and then people think it's like expensive, and you know what I mean, the resource part of it, and then choosing a therapist, and it's a lot more work, and the whole thing is work. So it's work to getting it, then it's work to own yourself, and you know what I mean, the vulnerability. It is intimidating.
Yeah. That's a good word. Yeah, that's a good word.
You use it. Well, I just wrote down that word. So I'll answer as best to the question as I can. I think that first, I think that as men, as black men, we can use either or. We're just now learning how to communicate our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, outside of like very cliche ways. And I think maybe we're like the first generation of black men who are consciously attempting to take the journey of that. So with that, I think that there's a lot of intimidation, to be honest. Especially doing something, as y'all you just expressed, like that's unknown, that's unfamiliar. And you can just think about like all the things that in general you get intimidated. You get intimidated your first day of school, the first day at work, first day at anything, first day of therapy. Where I gotta like assumption wise bare my soul and somebody judge me and all these different things.
Right.
I think that can be very intimidating for the average man, average black man. And yeah, to me, like I think that it kind of be the easiest and most straightforward way I'd answer it.
So what do you think it is?
I don't know, man. For me, it's like you got like I don't think I've talked to several people that are just like, well, I had a therapist, it didn't work out, and I gotta find. They don't want to do the work, and that's the thing that like I'm just like, yo, if you want to get better, you gotta put in the work. You gotta put in the work in a relationship, all that. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, I went through 3 therapists before I got to the one that like actually healed what I needed healed for. You know what I'm saying? Like the wound, and that's what I explained like earlier this year, like in one of the in the panel that I hosted back in February. It's like you have to find the person that's going to heal the wound that you specifically need fixed. You know what I'm saying? And like, and then my therapist always tells me like, yeah, like you can come to me and get that, but you got if I give you assignments, like you got to do the work with it. And I just don't. I just think like when it comes to us, man, like we just like, man, we'll just figure it out and we'll just sweep it on the rug and tough it out. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I don't want us to do that because we cannot hold all that in.
So I'll kind of build on the conversation. I think an easy way to build to it would be: do you think that it is necessary for men or people in general to go to therapy?
And
Is that necessary to be mentally healthy?
And you saying all people?
Or we can say men. How we want to frame the conversation, it doesn't really matter.
No, I was just saying. I was just not
all
trying. I'm just
people or
saying
just
people.
black,
All
or you
people
talking
just
about
need to go
us?
to therapy. Is that
so
what you?
right now it's 4 black men in here. So let's speak inside the terms of what we are.
Okay.
Is therapy necessary to be a mentally healthy black man?
Unless you don't have your own tools in place or resources to like make sure that you were mentally healthy. Like for instance, like yesterday, I held a panel on UNCC and we talked about resources, right, and tools, right. We go to the gym, we know what exercises we got to do, right, physically. We know we got to do. We got to get on the treadmill. We got to do some weights. But boom, a lot of people do not know. A lot of people do not know the tools for themselves to mentally be healthy. A lot of people don't know those type of tools. Like my tools are meditation, prayer, devotion, writing in my journal, right? Knowing that I have my foundation for the day before I started. A lot of people do not know that their days are out of whack. They have no morning routine. They don't have nothing going on. So I'm like, dang, well, maybe you need some help. Maybe you can go talk to a therapist or maybe you can read a book. I don't know. But I think the only reason I think one of the main reasons for therapy is to learn what those tools that will help you to continue moving forward to become healthy.
I was gonna ask, 'cause you just said some of them. Because I was gonna ask when you spoke about tools, and you said you don't need therapy if you have the tools.
If you have the tools, no, I'm not saying
and you spoke on them, but I'm saying I think that's a part of the conversation that gets missed is like the therapy. What does therapy do? It gives you the tools. So you said morning meditation, prayer, journaling.
Yeah.
One of my morning tools is I wake up and it's a form of meditation, but I give gratitude. I try to find something to be thankful about.
That's it.
So what are some of the, and maybe because not everybody wakes up in the morning. So what are like some other tools that maybe people could use, say in
I
mid
mean, the
afternoon,
first.
morning, or just like
Well, I was
whenever?
gonna say, I just got through reading this book called "Think Like a Monk" by Jay Shetty.
Okay.
And he talks about like
Noted.
morning routines. He talks about breathing exercises, right? So
That's a
like
good
through
one.
even in the afternoon, if it's going crazy, do your 4 second count breaths so you can relax, or before you react to something that made you upset. Man, in that book, man, he talks about breathing. Man, he talks about how like breathing is so. I don't think people understand how important breathing is, how breathing correctly is. Like a lot of us do not breathe correctly, which is why our emotions are all out of whack, or our brain is just our mindset or our thoughts are just out of whack because you're not breathing right. You know what I'm saying? Like he talks about different breaths and different exercises to do with your breaths.
That's a good one.
That's a good tool. Like in the
But that's one
afternoon,
that people don't necessarily, because breathing is also involuntary. So even if you ain't doing it right, you still gonna breathe.
still gonna breathe, but you may not be
But
doing it right.
right.
Like I know for me, I like to make sure I'm intentionally breathing correctly for the most part. You know what I'm saying? But I do my breathing exercises in the morning when I do my meditation. I'm doing my breaths and all that.
Oh, I had. Well, I was just going to say something. I think that a lot of the times, and this is another reason why to answer the question you posed about why do we think that a lot of men won't go and seek uh, therapy. I also believe that the majority, well, I ain't gonna say majority, a lot of us believe that our fellowship amongst each other is all the therapy we need.
That's true.
So a lot of us will use like just our conversations. And the thing is, I think that this is therapeutic. The pod is therapeutic.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, but at the end of the day, I don't feel that this alone or just my interaction with my peers is enough to say that I don't need therapy as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so
So
like,
you think it is necessary to be mentally healthy?
I think that, I mean, well, aside from what he said, see, he said something that I didn't even think about. I never really looked at like looked at the tool aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look at these things as tools.
Yeah.
Like I was young, like I was still in the military, probably like no, I was at least like 21, 22.
Mm-hmm.
So like going through, I didn't really like, I was just doing it. You know what I mean? It was like, even, it took me so long to even take it seriously because it was mandatory. You know what I mean? And
So it was just the thing you was doing.
yeah, I had to do it. See, and we'll get the backstory on why and everything on another episode. It's just a story, but yeah, it was mandatory while I was in the military. So I was going, and first, pretty much, it reminded me of Antoine Fisher. It reminded me of the movie Antoine Fisher, while he was going in there with Denzel in the beginning, and it ended up being like, I didn't necessarily break down in front of the person, but like it came to a point to where it was like, this is enough. You know what I mean? This is enough. Like I'm ruining myself by not even thinking for myself. I'm allowing my environment and my circumstance to make me react instead of even think about a thing.
That's what the therapist taught you.
So yeah, like once I started to really like, and then she did bring like the journaling and just writing in general. So for me, I just took it to writing music. You know what I mean? I internalize it differently, and some people, you know what I mean, it's a way you can internalize the tool differently, and that's why I never looked at it as a tool.
Yeah.
I just looked at it as me doing music and writing. You know what I mean? Just filling my time with my thoughts, doing it that way.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see the benefits of like just whatever you think, just write it down.
Yeah. Yep.
Just write it down. That's more beneficial than like the way, in my opinion, doing both would probably be best. But I could see that tool looking at it as a tool, and that acknowledging the fact that this is a tool will allow you to actually implement it in a way that will manifest what we're trying to get, is a healthy mindset, a healthy, healthy mind.
I got a question, piggybacking on what Real said.
Did you answer the question though?
What? I will answer it. I will
Oh, you
answer
just
it.
gonna ask the question before you answer.
Yes, yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Oh.
Just like Real gonna take a break. I'm going.
Say, this is what I'm gonna do, and that's just what it is.
Like Real gonna. I'm gonna ask this question before I answer it.
For a triple threat pivot game.
It's hilarious.
But my question was, because like you said the therapist gave you that tool, like it made something go off. Once like I understand if you don't have the tools, how it might be like necessary to go see a therapist. Do you think that's something that needs to be continued, or do you think once you gather the tools necessary for your mental health, that you can just use those tools and continue to keep yourself mentally healthy?
You're saying, should I continue the tools?
Well, no, so I'm saying like once the therapist has given you the tools and you
Yes.
know what to do with them, do you still need therapy? Like, or like,
I mean, now, like, I remember, so last year it was like my last, I remember my
not
last.
you in general, just
I know, I love giving examples. Like, for instance, like last year in November, my therapist was like, all right, well, you don't really need to see me no more. Like,
oh, she said it, yeah.
yeah, well, I almost broke down. I'm like, dang, it's like getting out of a relationship. But I went from seeing her once a week to now we only talk on the phone like once a month, and we just have conversations. But it just boils down to how she asks me specific questions, like last year up until that last session. Like, I don't need to see you no more. It's like those conversations she'll know if I need to continue seeing her or not, because she's asking like, what's been going on this week? How was everything going?
She asks you how you're using the tools.
Exactly. What's going on? Yeah. Like we continue those conversations, and then she sees how everything is going, and then that lets me know, like, okay, I probably don't need to see you no more. I choose to see her once a month because I look at therapy as an oil change, once a maintenance thing.
That's beautiful. That's yeah. I love that. Yeah. Maintenance, oil change.
Answer the question.
Okay, cool. No, see, they trying to.
I ain't did that. I hate when people love to try the day shit.
So this is what's
Why I
called the
gotta be
box.
included in day? Why I gotta be included in day? I
You
ain't
see how
saying that.
triggered they got just then too. They're crazy. But the question was, do you think, or why are black men scared, or
Do you think it's a necessity in order to have
a good mental
health
health?
to go through
No, I don't
therapy?
think it's a necessity if you have the tools and you can go out and get the tools.
Or did he just teach you that?
That's why I asked my question first. That's why I asked my question first. Rich man crazy.
Hey, no one messed me up with the smile after I asked you. That man just cheese for a second.
That's why Johnny he was waiting. He really wanted to be the last one to answer. I got it. You
But nah,
oh yeah, it's if you have the
building
tools.
it up. I guess for
God.
me, I think that it's definitely something that I kind of like sit and think through a lot. And I don't really have a specific answer. At times I say no. Sometimes I might say yes. I think that I know that I have like a very specific perspective, being that I started like a master's degree inside the counseling program, and I left it because of like me seeing the backside of it. I was like, I don't know.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
And
I did a little grad school myself.
A word.
Music education.
You was about to be teaching somebody.
That's still my goal.
For real?
Well, yeah, one of my main goals is to be a music professor. But continue on, because I want to hear this story.
Oh, I mean, it's not too much more to it besides for like in me like leaving leaving the whole what would you call it, like the program. It was based off of it was based off two things. It was me saying I'm going to pursue music full time, or like that's where I was going to like focus on. But B, it was truthfully, it was the idea of theory inside counseling and mental health and dealing with people, in which a lot of it is based on, and what I was learning was like there's a specific theory part to it, and I thought that I was going in to learn like specific techniques that will work, or like I was going to have like a very specific strategy when addressing specific things, and like that human error part was going way too heavy on me. Like if I was going to have to like if like whichever way you was going to adapt, whether it's going to be CBT, what's it like Gestalt, there's a bunch of different things you can adapt, right? And you can take some of those things to build your whole entire profession. I mean, your perspective of how you're going to counsel. And for me at that stage, I was like, I don't know how I feel about like the theory part of this, especially with people's livelihood inside my hand.
Yeah. My bad. I was just gonna say the craziest thing, and I get that now that you're saying that. I've not heard you kind of like go through that previously, and as soon as you said that, what I thought about is like the fact that everybody's different. Like even with medicine or any of the thing, like they have to figure out which one is going to give you the result that you need. Yeah. So like but go ahead, John.
No, that's what I want to give a more serious answer to my question, because I do have like, cause I've tried therapy in the past. Back in college, I don't really talk about it because I didn't do it for a long time because I saw some of the flaws in it, and like you say, maybe it was a thing where it wasn't necessarily a scared thing, but the lazy aspect you mentioned, definitely me. That was part of the lane I was in, as far as like wanting to go back. But another thing that really turned me off about it, and why I don't think it's necessary, is they was trying to like give me medicine and different shit, and that's like I tried it and I was like, I don't like how this makes me feel, and I stopped taking the medicine, and then I was like, let me just figure out how I can find my way to that mental space. And it was one thing, that a decision I made. It was like, I don't care what nobody thinks about or thinks about what I'm doing to get me where I need to be, I'm gonna make sure I do what I need to do to get me where I need to be. And I think that's a big part of it too. Is like you gotta find the right therapist, but you also, when going into therapy, you gotta have some own authority in it too, and you can't just let them people do whatever they want to do with you. And if the therapist you're doing or whatever they doing is making you feel bad, you have to also, for the sake of your mental health, be like, nah, that's not for. Maybe I explained myself wrong, and now that I'm older, I probably explained myself wrong, and I didn't was all the way truthful with everything I was going through and everything I was feeling. But and that was probably my fault. So I was young. I was in college freshman year. So, but now I'm older. I'm not gonna let nobody just give me bad advice on how to make myself mentally healthy, and that's kind of why I feel like where it's not necessarily necessary for everybody. But it's some people, some cases it is, some it's not. Some I think the person just has to have that commitment to their own mental health and know the things and the tools to do.
So Johnny, so would you say that, like, if we throw that back to answering your original question, like why some men, some black men, don't want to get mental health? Would you use fear as a like a way? Fear, and specifically the fear of being misdiagnosed.
I was just thinking that's
The
exactly what I
fear of
was going to
mixed. I
say
mean, that
too.
could maybe. Yeah, maybe the fear of being misdiagnosed. Like I said, I spoke about the vulnerable and that, but yeah, I mean, in my case, that was a big fear of going back to therapy for
Yeah.
sure. It was like being misdiagnosed,
And I think that in general, especially like as we start to get like into like the depths of the conversation, I think that there is a general distrust that black men do have when it comes to like institutions,
Black
especially
people in
things
general.
that are like white coat institutions per se,
hmm
where like
yeah,
like we have a history within the country. We can go down the trials of like black men being experimental pieces, and for like whether you want to say medicine, mental
Tuskegee,
health, XYZ. Go
Tuskegee.
ahead.
But one thing about it is there's a difference between a therapist and the person that actually or
Yeah,
provides a
psychiatry.
prescription for medication. Yeah, psychiatrist.
Yeah.
There's a difference. So like, my introduction to it was the same in the military. They literally, you know what I mean.
Oh, so you
I've
saying I was
been on
talking
some
to
of
a
the.
psychiatrist?
I don't know who you was talking to. I'm just saying that a
Oh,
therapist is not qualified
To
to
give you
actually
medicine.
prescribe you medication.
Yeah,
okay. I see.
but
Okay,
but
I see. I
uh,
see what
but
you. I see
what
what you're
I'll say
saying.
is that I think that that's a very good differentiation. But if we speak in like the fear of people, most people don't understand that
No, no, no. I
differentiation.
get it. That's
Um,
and that was the reason. Because I was going to say
I
too
didn't
that I think
understand
that
that
we
shit.
have I think it's a fear of misdiagnosis. I think that there's also a fear of diagnosis as well, just
yeah.
diagnosis in general.
No, for sure.
When
And so
they
like
tell
that.
you something
Yeah.
wrong with
So
you.
and I was going to ask you, did your therapist has your therapist ever like tried to give you some kind of diagnosis?
Like medicine or anything.
No, just to say like that you have a thing, not
I
necessarily
had I,
prescribed,
I
but
had an addiction.
okay.
Yeah, so that was what the diagnosis was. I had an addiction. I need the help.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all want me to speak on what the addiction was? I don't
Sure.
mind sharing. I had a porn
So too.
addiction, and it started from a lot of childhood trauma, and it led up into like, teenage years and like college, and then even into my relationships and stuff like that. And my wife was just like, "Yo, you need help." And so my therapist was like, "Okay, cool." Like I've been through 3 therapists up until I met Miss Kathy, and she was just like, "Okay, yeah, you have an addiction. We need to put some things together for you to like triggers, preventions, things like that. Like I'm not on social media a lot. I deleted Twitter. You know what I'm saying? I don't listen to a lot
You gotta
of.
delete Twitter.
I don't listen to, and the reason I deleted Twitter, that was like those are triggers. Like I can't get on Twitter because I'm scrolling through Twitter.
It's
Everything's
unfiltered. It's like
there's no filter
it's
at
gonna
all.
it's gonna
So like
pop
I'm
up.
scrolling,
It's gonna pop
and
up.
then next thing I know, Big Booty Judy getting the cheeks clapped. I'm like, what? This is not what I'm. This is not what I'm. No,
I ain't signed up
I
for
can't
this.
see this. I deleted it. And I'm not on
Mhm.
social media a lot. I don't listen to certain music. That's triggers. I'm not saying I listen to like I don't listen to certain artists because of the things that are being said in the music. You know what I'm saying? Or it triggers me to like a time. Maybe when I was in college and stuff like that. And so there's different things that like I don't do. You know what I'm saying? And she gave me those tools for me to keep those preventions, and we always talk about those every time we do have our connections and things like that. And so yeah, that's just the diagnosis was that, and that's what helped. That's what saved my life, man. It was I was about to be in a very bad situation, you know. So
Well, I definitely want to say we gratefully appreciate that vulnerability because I guarantee you that there's a huge population of men in general, and then let's go just to black men with the over the sexualization of us as a community. That is definitely a very normal thing within our community, I would say.
And there's a lot of people that's probably in that same position that don't even know that it's an addiction.
Right, and
Exactly.
That's the big thing about it. There's a lot of people that probably the same spot you was where you recognize, oh shit, this a problem.
yeah,
They just move in
you
life
just
like
conscious
it's
enough to actually do that. Yeah, with that in general, and how again, I think that if we start having like the serious conversations, the better conversations, when we start getting in and unpacking, it's like, damn, a lot of us like learned sex and like what we thought was supposed to happen and shit like that through porn. Right? A lot of us like that's something that's been like a consistency.
This whole
And
generation,
it's really interesting to kind of like sit and think through like, what does a porn addiction look like? What does the frequency of that look like? And would I fall within the reins of that? If you're having like a really, really honest conversation with yourself, or you can even go like, have this ever been a problem? If you don't, if you're like you're past that and you decide in your whatever phase of it.
Personally, I know I got some porn issues myself, so that like him talking about this one of the issues that I've definitely been facing, and I talked about this with old head, but like this one of the things I've been dealing with, and I know like a lot of men probably deal with it.
I mean, I think everybody done been in that bag before, so I mean, and it's easy to get in that bag and not even look at it as an addiction. And I don't think a lot of people really realize like the effects of it either. I mean, even myself, I done I done been there before where you start, you get a little too comfortable just pulling the shit up, and then there be actual relationships that you got, actual motherfuckers that need attention in your life, and you
go the easy route.
You go the easy route.
Yeah.
You go the easy route. So I mean, it's definitely like a great conversation to have. I think it should be said. Just the awareness is something that I think a lot of people need to just be aware of how much of a slippery slope it is, because it could just go from just a one off to shit 3 times a week to every day. So the awareness of
and I think that like something that is to be like really thought about is the fact that this is an actual addiction because of like what it is a dopamine release. And like you end up hunting a dopamine release over and over and over and over that is stimulated by very specific things.
Certain part of your brain just it activate, and once you do it, you're like,
dang, I want it again.
Let me go hit that button again. Let me go tap that again. Yeah,
absolutely. The thing that I noticed about my scenario with it, my addiction to it is that I validated in a crazy way, right? So like the way I validated it was like it helps me not to cheat on my old lady. So if I can get, you know how they say like they'll say like even when they talking to women they'll be like before he leave for the day make sure you get him so that he ain't got nothing to give to nowhere else. So like in my mind I validated it through like okay
I'm leaving the house.
I'm not going to cheat on my old lady. I can get this quick and easy. It's the easiest one you can get. By far the easiest one you can get. And so I validated my addiction through what it was, or in my mind, what it was enabling me to keep things. How was it? It was enabling me to keep things together.
Yeah. I mean that's valid. You know what I'm saying? I mean that's the way that you. I mean, but that goes to your relationship. You know, I know for me it was taking over me, man. I was like, why am I watching this? And you know, my therapist was just like, okay, I'm seeing the patterns when you're bored. You know?
Time,
and so at that point, I'm like, okay, I need to stay busy, and I just need to be strong. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I got rid of a lot of things. Like I said, I got rid of Twitter. Stopped listening to certain music. I don't drink and smoke anymore. Like I used to. I used to drink alcohol. I used to smoke marijuana. I stopped doing all that, and I'm more sharper now. But I'm able to tell the story. But it's just like my wife was just like, "Yo, like I just want you to get help for you because I know you don't like watching porn. I don't. I just wanted that feeling.
Yes.
I wanted that feeling. This made me feel because one of the main questions my therapist asked me, she was like, "Well, how does it make you feel?" I said, "It makes me feel good." For that little bit of time, she's like, "Okay, what if your wife was sitting right there while you was watching it?" I was like, "Dang, I would feel embarrassed because why am I watching this? Why am I, you know?" And so then I was like, "I don't want my wife to watch me watching it."
So that's your real feelings about it.
Yeah.
It's like, because like you said, it made you feel good, and she dug deeper. Your real feelings.
So what if your wife was sitting right there while you was watching it? I'm like, ugh. That'd be an uncomfortable situation. You know, I don't. Yeah. So then my wife was like, that's why she pushed me to get the help, and my therapist was like, yeah, like you wouldn't want your wife watching you watch it. I was like, yeah, no, I wouldn't want my wife. I wouldn't want Asia watching me watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like that just made me feel weird. And so then we got even deeper. Like, where could this have came from? You know, and there was some childhood trauma, and I was curious about things, and then it just led into like it got deeper into like my teenage years, going into college, and like it got too deep for me.
But for men, a lot of times this one specifically, I don't think it's necessarily got to be based in a trauma. Sometimes it's just because it's a slippery slope. Like you say, sometimes it's just that curiosity that just gets you in that spot. You just turned down the wrong road and kept on driving.
And I mean, honestly, I think a lot of it ends up being ease of access as well, especially now with like
it's in your face.
Like truthfully, back in the day, it used to be so much of a journey to have to do it.
For sure.
Like if we being real, like if you was at your mama house back in the day, like you had to find a time where you can get to like this, especially back in the day. Like we old niggas, old enough, right?
VHS.
Yes, like it was either like, and if you did the VHS, it had to be at a very specific time when the house was quiet, nobody was in it. Or if you was getting on the computer, you usually had one computer in the house, and
back when you had dial up, bro.
You was risking it all on the computer, bro.
Risking it all.
You was risking it all
because we didn't. Because you had to be very smart with the computer. You don't know how to erase that cache or that history.
Yeah.
We didn't even know what the cache was.
But back then, it would mess the whole computer up.
That blue screen of death,
it's gonna chase right back to you.
But the pop-up goes deeper. With them pop-ups, just imagine if where them pop-ups coming from?
Nah, yo, it's deeper than that, dog.
My bad.
DirecTV.
Nobody playing.
DirecTV used to have cards you have to insert into the console. The cards either was restricted or it was just all open game.
All access.
Bro, like like my dad used to come in and like, nah, I ain't gonna have you slipping. I'm taking this card, I'm putting this card in just in case you try to like watch something. Because my parents knew like there was channels on DirecTV.
Don't let you fuck around and find that.
I remember one time I had my friends over for a sleepover. We was like 13. And he came in the bonus room and took that card out that had everything in it and put the card in that had restrictions. It was just crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, to continue building on the point, I think that now, like back then, it used to be a little bit harder, but now there's such an easy access. If you have the internet and a phone, you can like anyway, you can duck off wherever the fuck you want to be at, right? And I think that ends up being like such a interesting space when it comes down to like the idea of it being an addiction, because again, it's the ease of access to a dopamine hit. And a lot of people get that through a lot of different ways, but an easy way that we all understand that it can come from is a phone and some free time. But I think that another space that I think would be interesting to talk through it or to it, the idea of like how, let me see how it can be framed, where there's the possibility of like an addiction like that taken away from actual in real life intimacy.
But let me just say before you go there, that's a great segue. But my thing was I wanted to make sure to hit this because you were speaking up like the ease of access.
Okay.
And one thing I will say is that I feel like, well, for me, and I think that this is true for a lot of us, the lack of conversations with our fathers, this birds and the bees that just never happened in our communities. So it was like you were afraid of the first time because you wanted to make sure that you didn't look like you didn't know what you were doing. And the only way that you can actually know what you was doing was to be able to see it. And so we would seek that out based on that, just to make sure that I'm not going to underperform or look like I don't know what I'm doing. So I want to make sure that I have this knowledge in order to, you know what I mean? So I wanted to make sure to just point out the importance of men having these conversations with their sons.
The other side of that,
as well as the women having the conversations with their daughters as well. Or if us just being more upfront about the reality of the scenario instead of us just like pushing it and then that's where I think that the level of addiction comes from, like, or it starts at such a young age. Because think about when you first started watching, it was like very young. Girls Going Wild coming on at the or BET, what was it, Uncut coming on,
fucking Tip Trail video,
Monsters Ball.
Yeah, like all these different movies.
My uncle bought me that shit for
plenty different
with Halle Berry in it.
Every
that was
Jason movie,
terrible for me.
Every single Jason movie.
Yeah.
Before somebody was getting dropped off before Jason killed them in every movie.
It is a fact.
That was gonna happen. So it's a level of conversation that I believe that is very beneficial to have prior to this exploration, this what do you want to say, unguided exploration into this space, and it literally can promote the idea of becoming.
I would definitely say it was about chasing tail though too. Like our parents were telling us to chase tail. Our fathers and stuff. It was a different thing.
I'll tell you. I'll say this though. Like as you know, you guys fathers, like that conversation got to be a little different now because we're like our fathers. They didn't even want to touch it because it was like back then it was taboo. Like you couldn't just like pick up your phone and see ass. Like back you had to go like get the VHS and it was all these steps that you had to do before you could get it. So having that conversation was probably as hard as it was to watch it. You know, because like you had to make sure it was set up right and you had to do that. Now you should have that conversation with your kids because this shit gonna be in their face.
Right there.
And that conversation gotta look a lot different because it's like back then our fathers knew we weren't gonna see it and they was doing that. The conversation now, but I know you've seen a lot of this stuff. But just like everything else on that internet, it ain't what it seems. And don't be fooled by like the shit that you see that ain't how real life necessarily operate. And I think moving forward, that's how the conversation has to go because niggas ain't gonna take it off the phones. Like it's always gonna be there. So we just gotta figure out how to operate as a people with that being there, and just know how to deal with it and how to move around it because it's always gonna be there. Now, like we open up that door, it ain't no putting it back in the box. It's out. Yeah. So I think that's one of the conversations that we need to really focus on, and that's very important moving forward. It's like I know you're gonna see all of these things, and you can see with a lot of the young generation because they're less addicted to it than we were.
I don't know if that's true at all.
I've heard.
Where are you getting that from?
I'd have to go.
Way different.
Yeah, I think it's with the idea that
I have to go do my research, bro. Like I was not prepared to have this conversation. I have my research,
All right, so you just saying shit.
But no, that's something I've heard. Now, did I go and fact check when I heard it? No, but
who did you hear from? That's what I'm saying. Like, what is?
It was a dude on. It was Instagram, and they was talking about the effects of.
So you don't think that the fact that there's a heightened rise of like if we just
I think the taboo and the restrictions is what made us curious about it. If it's just open, you don't really care about it that much. We care because we couldn't see it. I think that's a big difference.
I think that's like if we just look at the rise of what is called the incel community, and the fact that that's a huge part of like even if the reason why Red Pill exists is because of the incel community. And like the fact that they're involuntarily celibate means that they're more than likely watching porn.
Truth.
And that's where they're getting their satisfaction from. The fact that most kids, I think, I forget the stats, but these are things that literally are ran down consistently on all these shows, is the fact that most men haven't had sex within a year. Do we think that they're not having like
that's a real fact? Where you
that's a real fact.
Where you getting that from?
Whichever red pill show you want to like look up, like that's something that they always use as a point of emphasis for why men should learn a bunch of like the different little mind games that they play.
That's why I'm gonna stop listening to boys immediately.
Like,
fuck that in a year.
All right, you getting distracted from like the actual real thing, the real conversation piece to it. I think that the fact that in real life interaction has declined at such a high rate, people are way more inclined to actually like just indulge in simple Google search that lands you at Pornhub.
But I don't think.
Yeah, think about it. That,
but I don't
that,
think,
that would literally be a thing. Why? But think about why.
It's not just because
but
OnlyFans.
What are you saying is just not because of?
But what my thing was, I think the addiction is less because the access is more.
You got to think about OnlyFans. Just think about that by itself. The fact that people aren't having, and I'm not trying to. He was coming left. I ain't coming left. I'm just going, and we're gonna just unpack it a little further. You know what I mean? Is just the idea of OnlyFans having you know what I mean, the popularity that it has. Us not having the human to human interaction in real time in real life as much as we were.
Okay. I remember it now. The thing where I first brought that stat up from, it had to do with, I think it was Japan, and the fact that the guys in Japan aren't necessarily as interested in sex as the generation before.
Are interested in sex in itself? Is that what you're saying? Like that's way different than porn in itself.
Okay.
Like that's like a different conversation. But China also is like the social credit score place.
I said Japan.
Japan. Okay. I don't know.
That's different than China.
I'm about to say I don't have a specific rebuttal for that. But
I was gonna say.
So let's not get too far off the topic.
Yeah, I was gonna go somewhere left with that.
I am waiting for y'all like answer the last question that I asked. Dealing with intimacy and porn and partners and shit like that.
What was the question?
Like the idea of like its impact when it comes down to like intimacy when you actually do have a partner. Has it ever impacted? Does it impact? How do you feel on it?
It definitely, it has an impact, because I mean, it can have an impact. It had, for me personally, it has had an impact.
Right. Yeah.
I think I'm a little more mature to the point where I've, I don't think it has an impact for me personally anymore, but it does have an impact for what some of the standards, the expectations and everything that you may expect a partner to deliver for you, and in real life, it don't always look like that.
Okay.
Sometimes it's not the pretty, all of that. Sometimes it's just whatever. It's not pretty. It's just you just get to it. So
yeah, you be like, these positions don't even feel good.
Yeah,
like that's literally for the camera.
Why am I trying to do this? Like why am I like? But
and that's his own thing too, where you realize like when you actually start having sex, you understand that sex and the intimacy of sex looks and feels different than what is on a porn.
Yeah.
And like it don't look at it doesn't necessarily quote unquote always look as beautiful, but it is way more intimate. And like the person to person aspect to it.
Yeah, and trying to please your partner ain't necessarily always aesthetically pleasing to the masses.
Well, it's not a camera angle.
Yeah, it's like I got a job to do. I'm gonna get the job done.
Like lead you to believe like, am I not doing this right? Is this? Is like what like all the different things that you touched on when it's like the first time that we do it, we want to make sure it's perfect because I don't want to feel like as if I'm an amateur. I didn't know. Shout out to J. Cole. J. Cole had a whole song about it.
Nothing like that first time.
It was in my math class.
Yeah. I feel like you was about to say something.
I guess I'll just answer the question. I forget what I was going to say right off the top. And the question again is the effects of porn on a relationship and the intimacy with your partner. I'll say that it definitely can have an effect on it, and I think that the most direct thing is that it's so fast and easy. So the fact that it's so fast and easy, there's not really a bunch of work that goes into it. We grown now, we know that there's a level of workout and all of that you get from like being intimate with your partner. You know what I mean? Abs might be hurting, and you know what I mean? Not the next morning, but the day after that, you liable to start feeling your biceps and you know what I mean? You done worked your glutes out on accident and all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? Just being for real. Just being for real. You know what I mean? So like just the ease and the just it doesn't take so much time, and so the value of it begins to decline. I can see where, and this is just, you know what I mean, I could see this happening where the value begins to decline to where you could damn near, I mean, if it got to a severe case, I could see where you could almost, it could be interchangeable for you. You know what I mean? No longer valuing the experience and just valuing the euphoria.
But it can devalue so much that like women can be like, well, this ain't working because I'm not satisfied. I'm gonna go to a woman.
Yeah.
So what you gotta say, Dan?
I've heard that.
Nah,
I've seen that.
I was just shocked.
Because they know a woman knows exactly how that area works.
Yeah. And then also, women also have something that doesn't really, is not dictated by
hormones.
Yeah, you know, just the way that you.
We get childish sometimes.
Yeah, we do get childish sometimes. Y'all understand where I was going.
I understand.
So long as we all on the same
Johnny.
page.
You picked up on it quick.
Y'all remember the producer Johnny Giuliano?
Yeah.
Oh, and when y'all say
Johnny.
Johnny. This is Johnny.
He was fine too back in the day. He used to kill.
He used to kill with the Wiz Khalifa.
Kill
Taylor
shit
Gang
back
beats.
in the day, bro. He used to
crazy,
kill
dog.
him and Superstar O.
Yup.
But we'll let you get back.
Have y'all ever been embarrassed? Like literally, like that story that Jeremy was just telling. Like, as far as like affecting the intimacy, one of the things that's happened to me before, like, it hasn't affected me in my relationships. Usually, I'm pretty slick with my stuff, but I got caught by this girl one time.
Watching?
Yeah, in the bathroom, like while she was asleep on the couch, and literally, I was in the half bathroom downstairs. She was sleeping on the couch. I was just trying to get one off real quick and ain't want to bother. She caught me in the bathroom, bro. She caught me in the bathroom, and she went off.
No, I love. Okay, go.
It was an embarrassing thing. Like she really made a big deal about it, and it was like you could have been doing that with me, and I just didn't want to be tired for a second. Like I didn't want to be tired, and that was the big thing.
Doing it with me,
yeah. And that was her thing, though. You could have been doing it with me, and I wasn't doing it with her. I was doing my own thing, so that was where the issue.
Or did she say anything like, "Yo, we could have watched it together"?
Nah, she wasn't into porn.
Okay, got
it.
I ain't never been caught as an adult.
I bet I have.
I ain't been caught.
I have. I mean, I think that.
I'm just slick nigga.
Don't worry about it. No. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Give yourself some more time. Unless you can get it under wraps, it will happen to you. You're not the exception to the rule. No.
He said, "Hey, getting caught is coming."
That's what he did.
Getting caught is coming like miserable.
The worst part is that like we'll normalize things that shouldn't be normalized.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And present it, and this is a part of me, and you're just gonna have to accept it. You know what I mean? Because it's not that big a deal. You know what I mean? It's the way we always kind of will validate things and yeah, just to make it more comfortable, and because that's what you want to do. Mm-hmm. It's literally what you want to do, and it can definitely tear down a lot of different things if not done in the appropriate manner, or if at all. Everybody can't, and I think I was talking to Tone about this. Everybody ain't gonna have the same journey. You know what I mean? So the thing that's gonna take me down may not necessarily take you down. Right. You know what I mean? Your walk is gonna be different, but at the same time, don't misconstrue that with
that can't happen to me.
Exactly. Preventative maintenance is better than trying to, because think about it, if you don't change your transmission at 100,000 miles, if you don't change your fluids, then don't do it, and see
your car gonna be hitting the June bug by 120.
See what happens. You're gonna see what happens when you don't do it. So you know what I mean. That preventative maintenance that I was speaking of earlier, like I think that's on both sides of it. We got to make sure that we don't leave that out of where, you know what I mean, sexual. Like we're gonna have a guest coming soon on the show. I mean, I ain't gonna go too far on it, but we're gonna have a dope guest coming, another dope guest coming on too. We're gonna go into more on that the sex therapy thing, and so, but it's good to have just mental, just a regular mental health and your sexual mental health as well. Yeah. And that's what this is all. This is a dope conversation about how to kind of what it takes to kind of balance that and what it really looks like in real life.
Because I think this is a good conversation to lead, and maybe some of the questions, the sparked here may be good for next week, the weeks after. I think one thing I don't think it's been said yet. I've noticed, but like when you putting that much energy in porn, there's less energy you have for your partner also. Mm-hmm. Like you bust one by yourself. That's one less you can bust with your partner, and so it's like
shit. At this age, that's it. When you get to a certain age, you can maybe get one earlier in the day. You can get a nut off later on, but you ain't got that. Yeah, you ain't finna get multiples off.
Years of being no more. Round 3 ball is over.
Yeah, that's over.
Round three, boy. Yeah, that's crazy.
But to kind of build onto that though, because I think that there's even misconceptions that as you grow up that we kind of have, like where you can justify. And I think you used a great word before. Justify. Like doing specific things off of like the strength of like these little quote unquote like sayings and things like that. Where I remember it was a time where it was like, oh, you about to go get up with a new girl? Well, you might as well rub one off so that that you last long. You don't be a minute man, X, Y, and Z.
That's
that was like a thing that you had to think of, and it was like, all right, shit. This is a justified nut right here. Yeah. I'm going to get this off, and then I'm about to go do this, and she gonna think I'm Superman, tip, right? You said what? Oh, that was a pro tip for you?
Yeah. Pro tip, bro.
Pro tip. Listen, if I get one off before I go, I'm just gonna chill in the bed. I'm just chilling. I ain't going no more.
The crazy
like I'm 35, 36 actually.
Yeah, that don't work now, but back then,
like back in the day. That we talking about young boys.
Yeah, we having a mature conversation about it.
Like, because we talk about how this affects your areas in like relationships, but what about the rest of your life? Like, especially like I'm an entrepreneur. There have been days where I've literally beat off, went to sleep, fell asleep.
I'm not laughing.
Nah, it's funny I said it. Yeah, I know. But literally, like I've had days. Yeah. I've had days.
We all being honest.
Everybody that got caught by one, you be sitting there watching it, it'd be like, oh, this got a little too good to me. And it'd be like, afterwards, I was supposed to be doing this. Hey, work from home crazy, bro.
Oh, man. Y'all boys, that's why I take my ass to the office. Y'all go back to work, people.
Hey, we ain't gonna talk about the people who getting off in the office. We ain't gonna talk about the people. We ain't gonna talk about the people who getting off in the office bathroom.
Wild bathroom bull.
Wild bathroom bull.
Wild bathroom.
This is why Wells Fargo wants y'all back in the office.
but go. I want you to expand on that.
Hey, basically I was just saying like it's effective in other areas of life because I know I've literally like missed out on stuff or like put myself behind just from I took the time to do this. Now I done slept, but now I got to spend time that I was supposed to be doing something else, doing the work that I did because I beat my meat and I wanted to do. And
wrong as hell. That shit still be funny as hell, bro. Like I be laughing like I'm in 6th grade, bro.
It's funny.
It's such a taboo.
I be laughing at this. It's not funny.
Nah, but that's the thing. Is like you, bro. That's why I like to be clear at all times, sharp, because that can take you off a whole entire like. You could be on a doggone mission, you know what I'm saying? Like it'll change your whole momentum. You know what I'm saying? It'll take you off your course. They gotta get back into the momentum. That's hard.
Very hard.
Because then you're trying to get back in momentum, but then you're thinking about like, man, what the heck did I just waste my time doing?
And then you mad at yourself. You try to get back to the momentum and you mad at yourself.
Bro, you feel disgusted. You're mad. You just like, why did I do this? I'm not doing it again. This is just one time. I'm done.
You then boom. Stupid mother.
I ain't gonna. This is my last one.
See, look at him, bro. You can't tell me the presentation. You could always see when he finna go.
No, this is my last one. Because we talking about time. Tell me porn minutes ain't different.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, that's facts.
Yeah.
Like if you know, like
I get what you
you
said.
feel like you just sat down and be like 30 minutes later.
Should be 8 minutes and 49 seconds.
You be like, God damn, I wasted that much time in that little bit of time because you're so focused on whatever the thing is. And that's the piece.
Even looking
like,
for the same
trying to
video.
get to that one.
That one
Yeah,
video.
you trying to find it. Yeah,
You be
yeah,
on
you
page,
trying to find
you on
it.
page
That's the
13
hardest
trying
part.
to get that shit, bro.
That's the hardest part right there.
And
You
be
took
look
up all
and
that
be
time.
Like, oh shit,
That be the
I done
most
wasted
disgusting
45
part too.
minutes
You be
of my
like,
time doing absolutely nothing productive.
debauchery. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
Like, I've been fully ingrained in debauchery at this point. I gotta stop. But
yeah, no, is y'all anybody got else? Anything?
I think we all unpacked. Dude.
I think that was unpacked.
I think we.
Yeah.
So before we hop off of it, I'd say, damn, it seems like everything that you say ends up being like a pause-worthy moment. But,
Hey yo.
let's like we've been really serious on like we've been
Semi-serious.
jokingly serious, but seriously joking as well on like a very serious topic in general. Because again, like I said, it is a easier way for us to express uncomfortability by telling the truth about a lot of different things. I don't know. I would like to hear y'all thoughts on this really quick. Why y'all laughing? What are your thoughts on? What do y'all think about the semen retention thing? I've heard a bunch of people pitch it as like a superpower, and what do y'all think?
I've done it, so I speak on it. I've actually done it.
How long have you done it for?
I made it 30 days. I made it a good 30 days, and I ain't go further than that. Like I got to day 30, and I was like, yeah, time to celebrate.
But hold on. So
that was the problem
right there, bro. It's like
that was the problem.
You set little goals, but I want to make sure that we're speaking about the exact same thing. So what I've heard semen retention is like, oh damn. No, go ahead, because I don't even want to throw it there. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically I did it, and I will say like there was a change within my mindset within those 30 days, even though I still ended up falling back off the whatever you want to call it. You know, I ended up still falling short. But during those days, what I realized was like how much time I actually spend looking at porn. Like it's like that's what really set the time effort for me. Like, dang, I spend this much time because it was like the times where I was bored, I didn't have anything else to do, or I had to find something else to do during that time. Or the times where I wanted to make myself feel good with some false way, I still had to find another way to feel good. Or I had to accept the fact, hey, you can't. No need to falsify this thing. You still not solving the issue, whatever the issue is you're going through. So it helped me to face some other stuff. I just didn't stick with it. I wish I would have stuck with it. I'm still trying to get there. But
like semen retention wasn't just like abstaining though, right?
Nah, not fair. This is the way I went through it.
Semen retention mean you ain't busting nothing. Like it ain't.
No, but I thought
it was.
That's why I was going to interject, but I felt like we probably could get to a good space within that conversation. But yeah,
okay.
Semen retention typically is like you will have sex but not pretty much.
Right.
But what you were speaking about was like the ability of a time span to go without actually like having an orgasm, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In which again, like I can see where that's an interesting like conversation.
Well, yeah, and those
I wasn't trying to.
Those are definitely two different things, though. Too.
Yeah.
The more research I done on it, because most people put them hand in hand, like male orgasm. Semen, like release semen, but they're two separate things. You don't have to release semen to have an orgasm.
I mean,
exactly. That's what my understanding of semen retention was. It was pretty much not releasing semen while still having an orgasm.
I haven't been successful at that while having sex. I've done it myself, like stopping when you about to come. Like they call it edging, also, if that's what you're talking about. I'll stop like about to be on the edge or whatever, but I'll say.
We childish, bro.
I was trying so hard.
I
was trying so hard not to laugh, bro.
That's my man, bro.
I get it.
That's still hilarious.
It's still a hilarious conversation.
It's hilarious
the Michael Jackson.
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Oh man, yeah, we childish, bro. But it's
But no, I think that. But still, I think what he was talking about is the ability to abstain from actually having an orgasm or nut or whatever.
In general, just completely
general,
outside of
that's
semen
his
retention.
own little thing. In which I don't know if y'all had more conversation to it, or it sounded like he was about to ask him a question.
Mm-hmm.
No, how did you feel? Like, how did you feel after the 30 days? because I hear a lot of people talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, but what's your purpose behind it?
Well, I mean,
is it to sound good?
Because you wouldn't stop
Nah.
smoking crack for 30 days and then after 30 days be like, God damn it, let me fire one up. Like that was
see, like everybody
the purpose of it.
And so I'm thinking you did it for the right reasons. A lot of people do it because of they see Kevin Gates.
Oh, yeah.
About this all the time.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I heard it from.
He a wild boy though.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He's a different type of person. However, like I hope people are doing it for the right reasons to fulfill themselves and not just doing it just to make themselves look good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you're actually doing it to like change ways and habits instead of saying, "Oh, I do this, I look good." You know what I'm saying? Like
that's a very valid, and that goes for a lot of stuff too, though. Like you gotta know. Basically, you gotta know where you're going. And
what is the reason you're doing it for?
Why am I doing why am I doing this? Because if you're just doing it to look good, yeah, you did it, but
to tell other people, I do this.
But did it solve? Did it heal?
Did it do anything? What is it doing for you?
Right.
Yeah.
And I say one of the reasons I did it in the first place was because it was like there was a lot of different circumstances going on within my life that I felt like I wasn't in control of. Yeah. So it was like, this is one of the things that I'm in control of. Like, as far as allowing this into my life and the negativity that comes along with it. Because after the feeling good, you still, like, there's still the whole thing of not being socially inept. I'm not dealing with my social anxiety that I have to deal with to the point where, like, part of the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to make the effort to go talk to all these different women and deal with all that comes along with that. But that's part of life. That's more a healthier thing, I think, to be able to face those different challenges and, going up to the woman and having to earn that rather than getting it real fast on a quick, you picked up your phone and you got it real fast. It's a false reward.
Because it still lends itself to be a space of complacency.
Mm-hmm. That's the difference between microwave food and like cooking in the oven.
Hey, that's a good way to explain
it. Like one of them, like the microwave food be good, like it be busting, but ain't shit like when you actually take your time, put that shit in the oven and really, really cook that shit. That meal be on a different level. And I guess maybe part of the solution would be actually having those real conversations with women and actually sitting down and doing the hard thing instead of like what Tone said, like I'm gonna watch this instead of sitting down and talking and dealing with this woman because this is an easier out. But going and facing, and doing that hard shit, talking to them women that make it a little harder to go and just watch the porn. Also, once you didn't have that real interaction, it make it a little bit harder to just. Well, for me personally, I don't know for everything.
I'm about to say it's a whole different set of rewards that come along with actually. If you're actually talking to a woman, it's a different set of rewards that come along with it compared to.
But if you know that this one action is keeping you from that reward, then once you get that reward, it makes it easier not to go back to that specific action.
I ain't gonna necessarily say that because an addiction is in relationships.
Okay, I'm trying to help niggas out, man. My bad.
Oh yeah, nah. I ain't gonna even. I've definitely been guilty.
We taking fantasies over here. We talking.
I said solutions, but I guess okay, my bad.
Nah, I'm with you on the solution thing, but I think it's more so a thing of like how people see it. If people don't think it's a bad thing,
I think Citizen is giving us like a blueprint to like solution based type thinking with it.
No, that's for sure. Yeah, no, that's for sure.
And definitely identifying it as a problem.
Yeah,
and I think that's like, where we kind of, where most of us are like really kind of lackluster at is identifying that it is a problem within our lives and actually seeing what the results of this problem is.
Yeah, and then taking the steps to find the tools to be able to actually deal with it because it is a problem.
Yeah.
Hey.
No, I like that, man. I think I won't say good job today, fellas. Nigga, I think everybody came with a vulnerable piece today. Everybody, probably shared a little bit of themselves that none of us knew before. So I want to applaud you guys for that. I feel like we definitely we unpacked that shit and put it away. So this was a really good topic. I want to say appreciate Young Citizen
for sure. YUNG to be exact.
YUNG, no O.
For sure.
No O. appreciate you for coming in. And,
Thank y'all for having me.
And you got us in a different bag than we probably would have been without you coming here. So definitely appreciate you for that and the vulnerability and really the conversation, just sitting down and chopping it up with us.
Yeah, and y'all go out there and check out Morning Pages. Yep. It's hard, you know what I mean, and tune in to my guys. He's doing not the Motivation Mondays. What is it now? You say
Morning Pages.
Yeah,
morning Pages Monday.
Morning Pages Monday.
Where can we find you? Y'all
can find me everywhere. So you can find me on Instagram, any social media. Young Citizen. You can find me at Young Citizen YUNGCITIZEN. You can also go to youngcitizen.com and go to the Morning Pages section, and you can sign up to be on my list to receive journal entries every Monday through once a week. If you want to do that, you can sign up for free. Get you on my list. A lot of people enjoy it. They talk about it with their families, with their friends. I got people that are starting to even write in their journal now, which is super dope, man. So yeah, you can find me like that, and I got some more events coming up, some more community events coming up later this year, so just stay tuned for that.
Sure, appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, this is a fire episode. This is like you said, this has definitely got us into like a very like specific space that we haven't tapped in, and it was good hearing everybody kind of like share their truths, their vulnerabilities, and again, I like to say that don't take the fact that like we were able to joke through it as like it was a joking matter and that we didn't take it serious.
For sure.
Like, and which, like, again, within the jest, and again, we had a very serious moments, but even within the jokes, there's a lot of seriousness in it. Because of, again, I do think that it is probably a undiagnosed thing that a lot of people have to end up dealing with. Whether that's within by yourself, like I said, I brought up the incel community. Whether you're inside a relationship, I don't know. There's a bunch of people that deal with like ED and shit like that, and there's so many different little things that can come from a result of uncontrolled addiction to the idea of chasing pleasure, and that's what most pretty much any addiction is. And I don't think that this is anything differently. And reality is that, like, the first step one is admitting that you do have an addiction, and then getting help and finding those tools to it. Johnny?
Real, you got anything else?
Oh no, man.
Tone, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Before we get up out of here, I want to say, everybody, hey, if you ain't did it by now, if you still here, hit that like button. You got to hit the like button if you still here. Hit the notification button, subscribe. You get all, updates on everything. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads.
Is it in bad taste if you
stop?
Oh.
Stop. We come on.
Plug this week?
Yeah, not this week. Not this week. I ain't gonna plug it. I ain't gonna plug it this week.
He got OnlyFans. He has
bro, he gonna believe you, bro. Don't say that. He gonna believe. He
said a what?
See? Hey, y'all. It's at the To Be Fair show. I am your host, Johnny P.
Oh, here, real.
It's cute.
Special guest, Young Citizen.
Young Citizen, man. YUNG to be exact.
And we out.